Indian and Pakistani soldiers have exchanged gunfire in Kashmir for a fourth night in a row. It is the latest escalation of tensions between the two countries since gunmen killed 26 people, mainly tourists, in the disputed region last week. India has blamed the attack on Pakistan, calling it an act of cross-border terrorism. Islamabad has denied the allegations. At the weekend, Delhi released footage of military exercises it said was to show its readiness for long-range precision strikes. Now, China administers the northeastern part of Kashmir, which is disputed by India. Now, Beijing is stepping up its diplomatic engagement, backing Pakistan's call for an impartial probe into the tourist attack.
China welcomes all measures conducive to cooling down the situation and supports conducting a fair investigation. As a common neighbor of India and Pakistan, China hopes the two sides will exercise restraint, meet halfway, handle differences through dialogue, and maintain regional peace and stability.
And DW's Delhi Bureau Chief Sandra Petersmann is following developments closely. Sandra, we're getting footage of India's latest naval tests from Sunday, which obviously are coming at a very tense time.
Well, military action in this scenario is still a very likely scenario, Biresh. And yes, indeed, the Indian Navy as well as the Indian Air Force have conducted long-planned drills, which, of course, are seen and have to be seen in a different light under these current circumstances as troops are on high alert. And also we have to keep in mind that India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has publicly vowed to punish all those involved in this ghastly attack on unarmed Indian civilians in the Kashmir Valley. He has said he will basically persecute them till the ends of the earth, in his words, and he has promised an unimaginable answer. So it's very hard to walk away from this kind of strong messaging. And also, if we circle it back to Kashmir, we see continued efforts there by Indian forces to hunt down the perpetrators in a very mountainous area covered with thick forests, which make it very difficult to operate in that area.
Meanwhile, the United States has been in touch with India and Pakistan and has urged them to work towards a, quote, responsible solution. And then the State Department also said it stands with India and strongly condemns the terrorist attack. What is the role that the US is playing here?
Well, at the moment, I think it's fair to say that India is much closer to the United States than Pakistan is. And yes, there have been lots and plenty of words of sympathy. Let's not forget that the attack happened while US Vice President J.D. Vance was still in India. He was one of the first to basically say we are in full support of India here. But we must also not forget that the United States is also very active in other conflicts, trying to find settlements for the war in Ukraine, for the war in Gaza. So it's very hard to assess how much appetite the United States have to get involved and throw themselves really into another conflict that is brewing here in South Asia. While Pakistan, on the other hand, I think I should add this here, over the years has developed a much closer relationship to China. And China, of course, which also controls a small part of the divided Kashmir region, is very much a part of this conflict too, which makes it three atomic powers which are essential to finding a solution to this conflict.
Sandra, stay with us on the line because India and Pakistan both implemented a series of punitive measures against each other in the aftermath of this attack. Delhi suspended what is known as the Indus Water Treaty that ensures water for about 80% of Pakistani farms. Islamabad has called this move an act of war.
Water shortage is a recurring problem for farmer Homla Thakur. Rain has been scant in recent years. He owns a 2-hectare farm in the southeastern province of Sindh in Pakistan. Nearby, the country's largest river, the Indus, is running low. And the news that neighboring India has vowed to cut water supplies from this critical river has left farmers like Thakur in shock.
If they stop the water, all of this will turn into desert, the whole country. The basic issue is water. Nothing is possible without water.
India walked away from the Indus Water Treaty after a shocking attack on tourists in the Indian-administered Kashmir on April 22nd. India linked the attack to Pakistan. The Indus is a river system with numerous tributaries that stretch from Tibet to the southernmost tip of Pakistan. According to the water sharing treaty signed by Delhi and Islamabad in 1960 and brokered by the World Bank, Pakistan has control over the Indus, the Chenab and the Jhelum rivers. India, the upstream country, has to let most of the waters of those rivers flow freely to Pakistan. The treaty has survived decades of war and conflict till now. Leaving Pakistan, the downstream country worried for its survival. The Indus Basin supplies water to 80% of Pakistan's agriculture, a sector that contributes nearly 25% of Pakistan's GDP. Pakistanis are concerned. India is weaponizing water.
My biggest concern is we're already locked in generations of conflict. We have been generation after generation for one reason or another. And we hope to work together to be able to address all those issues of the past. By exiting the Indus Water Treaty, I believe we're locking future generations into a brand new context of conflict between India and Pakistan, and that must not happen.
Experts argue it's nearly impossible for India to block the flow of water overnight. But over time, with new dams and hydropower plants and canals, Pakistan's water supply could significantly dwindle. The suspension also means that India will stop sharing crucial information on the release of water and on flood alerts. An alarming development for a region that is among the most affected by extreme weather events, and where working together could benefit more than 1 billion people who are bearing the direct consequences of climate change.
Sandra Petersmann, our Delhi bureau chief, remains on the line. Sandra, India is also a downstream country when it comes to China and the Brahmaputra River, on which China is already building dams. If Delhi were to stop water flowing into Pakistan, couldn't Beijing do the same to India?
Well, it would, of course, set the precedent. And if we look at other conflicts in this world, at other wars, be it Ukraine, be it Gaza, be it Sudan, we see that the international rules-based order, that international humanitarian law, that international treaties are ignored and trampled upon. And of course, this walking away from the Indus Water Sharing Treaty could set another such example. The treaty itself does not allow for any side to walk away from it alone, unilaterally, but India has decided to do so, maybe also because it anticipates that the Indus Water Treaty could become a bargaining chip in any future negotiations. But let's be clear here and circle back to Kashmir. If we look at the Kashmir conflict, we very much have still an active insurgency there, and it would be the need of the hour to find a political solution involving all parties concerned. And all parties concerned in this divided region means India, Pakistan and China, all three of them being nuclear powers. And we are at the moment very far from finding this political solution that would include the water that needs to be used and preserved jointly, also in the light of climate change.
DW Delhi Bureau Chief Sandra Petersmann, thank you. Let's get more from Stefan Döring. He's an expert on water and war. He joins us from the Department of Peace and Conflict Research at Uppsala University in Sweden. Welcome. Now, India and Pakistan are both signatories to the Indus Water Treaty that was brokered by the World Bank. But can India unilaterally scrap that deal?
Hello, Biresh. Thanks for having me. I mean, according to the treaty, it's not possible to just suspend it. And also the other water conventions would prevent India from doing this. Then the other question is, are they capable of doing this? And this was already alluded to in your reporting as well.
Are they capable of doing this?
I mean, as far as I understand, and most expert reports that I've seen is that they don't have the capabilities right now in terms of dams and other storage facilities. So sure, they could do something more short term, but in the long term, they would have to build and construct such facilities, which will also take some time.
Okay. Now, like Pakistan, India is also a downstream country when it comes to China, particularly, and the very long Brahmaputra River. Now, China has upstream control and is also building dams on this river. Is there a fear that if Delhi suspends an international water treaty and actually is able to stop water flowing into Pakistan, that Beijing could do the same to India?
Absolutely. I mean, this is one of the dangers here that, and also the situation that India is in. They might not be interested in shaping such a precedent in this today's geopolitical atmosphere in the region. And of course, if India does this to Pakistan, of course, China would have the same could have the same argument over the Brahmaputra River, just as you alluded.
And let's talk about China's involvement here. I mean, there is this implicit threat that potentially is there from Beijing to potentially dam off the Brahmaputra River that's flowing into India. But then there is also Chinese diplomatic engagement. China has come in a way on the side of Pakistan, saying that it respects Pakistan's sovereignty and is for it, but is also in favor of a joint probe to get to the bottom of this attack in Pahalgam. Do you think that that is going to be likely?
That's a bit outside of what I'm mostly looking at the water treaties. But of course, like, you have to see the water question in the bigger geopolitical picture, right? So this is something that they can use as a bargaining chip, perhaps to have different options at the negotiation table, and for the wider issues, for Kashmir and as well as other political tensions.
Right. We'll leave it there for the moment. Stefan Döring, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.